What is up, everyone? Today we bring you the Wandering Earth Part 2. So strap in and let's get started. And our movie today opens with a mad scientist who discovered a way to preserve human consciousness virtually inside a computer. Our scene then shifts to Paik Yang, who passed the test for the Chinese reserve astronauts. And we see him visiting the place where his mother died. The place he visits, Libreville, is a complete waste town. And most of the world is in incredibly dire condition because the sun is rapidly degenerating and expanding and will engulf the Earth in about 100 years. And soon, even the solar system itself will not exist anymore. In order to come together and solve this problem for everyone, the governments of the world come together and establish a coalition called the UEG, which stands for United Earth Government. And to ensure the survival of as many people as possible, the Moving Mountain Project was selected by the UEG. The project involves building 10,000 engines to propel Earth out of the solar system before the sun engulfs it. Furthermore, 3 lunar engines will be built on the moon to push the moon as far away from Earth as possible so that the moon's gravity doesn't pull back Earth and keep it in the solar system. But as the project kept moving forward, the costs became unimaginably high. And this cost impacted a lot of countries around the world. And so, in opposition of the Moving Mountain Project, conflict arose everywhere. And day by day, attacks and riots all around the world were becoming very common. This was especially true in Libreville, where experiments for the Moving Mountain Project were being done. The HQ for the project was attacked, and the UEG calls for an emergency meeting, and the Americans proposed to postpone the Moving Mountain Project in order to calm people down. But the Chinese representative Ziji opposes this plan and convinces everyone to keep going. Meanwhile, we see Paik Yang training to be an astronaut. And in the academy, he meets Han and falls hopelessly in love with her. And one day, he musters up the courage to confess his love to her and he gives her flowers. And that day, something weird happens as they were still in a space station, and all of a sudden, all the drones back on Earth start acting on their own and they start attacking people. And back at the space station, Paik Yang and Han also notice people that they've never seen before at the academy. And before they know it, it was a coup that was taking place by a terrorist organization who want to stop the Moving Mountain Project and live as digital virtual beings inside a computer. The attackers have camouflaged themselves as new cadets, and their mission is to destroy the Ark space station at all cost. On their ship, Han and Paik Yang manage to overcome the bombers, but overall, the rest of the bombers on different ships managed to accomplish their mission and they destroy the Ark space station. The death toll was unspeakable, and the damage that it caused to the Moving Mountain Project was also incredibly profound. The Ark space station was a form of an elevator that the UEG government used to transport supplies and personnel to the moon. But now, since its destruction, the chances of them accomplishing the Moving Mountain Project are slim to none. As the world loses hope in the project, the Chinese representative Ziji still believes that mankind will prevail. And through his very loyal assistant, he notifies the very frustrated governments of the world that he can accomplish in testing the engines in 7 months and still manage to go on with the Moving Mountain Project. Everyone is skeptical about this idea, but since there are no better alternatives, they decide to go along with it. As the movie progresses, we are introduced to Henyu. Henyu is a Chinese scientist who's testing engines on the moon as part of Ziji's plan. But there's more to Henyu than meets the eye. Henyu lost his wife and daughter a couple of years ago, and back then he was still a scientist testing the possibility of preserving human consciousness within a computer. Being unable to accept his family's death, Henyu kept his daughter's consciousness inside a very expensive AI computer, and he brought that very same computer with him on this mission. The only people that know that he kept his daughter's consciousness virtually are the people he worked with, including his very same partner now that he used to work with back then. On the moon, Henyu and his team were testing the engines, and one day an unexpected solar storm hits and destroys their AI computer that they needed to test the engines. This specific AI computer was far more superior than the one Henyu used to preserve his daughter's consciousness. But nevertheless, it was still an AI computer that could perform similar tasks. And so, Henyu makes a deal with his partner. He would give him the passcode to his AI computer, and his partner would hire him to work at his company developing more AI computers. You see, Henyu plans to use this opportunity to insert his daughter's consciousness into a better computer so she can have a complete life. As she currently stands in the computer that she is, his daughter can only function for 10 minutes, and after that, the computer is unable to run her consciousness anymore. And Henyu wants to fix this problem for his daughter. His partner tries to convince him that his daughter's dead and that thing he's keeping inside a flash drive is just an obsession. But his partner also realizes that Henyu is not the same man he was before his family died. And his partner also knows that Henyu is going to let the entire human race die because he genuinely believes that his daughter is alive inside that computer, and he will not volunteer to give the computer even though it can potentially save the entire human race. Realizing this, Henyu's partner agrees to his deal, and they use his computer to test the engines. The engine test succeeds, but also destroys Henyu's computer as it was not completely compatible. This was a very relevant milestone for the governments of the Earth, as their hope for the moving mountain project is restored. This was also accidentally a great opportunity for Henyu to work with his partner on developing a better AI computer to house his daughter's consciousness. In the coming years, a lot of changes happen in the world as the world now fully prepares for the moving mountain project. We see how the coming years affect our characters as Pak Yang gets married to Han and they have a son. Henyu works day and night to develop the AI computer, and the UEG automated almost all systems and started using AI to develop their project. But even though things seemed like they were looking up, humanity was facing a lot of problems. One of these problems was the rise of solar radiation, and one of the victims of this problem was Pak Yang's wife Han, who got diagnosed with cancer. Pak Yang was praying that his wife's cancer wouldn't be terminal and she would go into remission, but that day never seemed to come. And to make matters worse for everyone, the underground cities that the UEG constructed to keep humanity safe and ensure the continuation of mankind were not enough to house everyone, and anybody who wanted to survive was trying to acquire a spot. This included Pak Yang, who wanted to join the space astronaut program to acquire space for his family. But his plan didn't really go well as he failed the interview. As Pak Yang comes to terms with the fact that his wife's cancer is terminal, we witness Henyu breaking into the laboratory that he works for and uploading his daughter's consciousness into the newly developed AI system. His partner, along with the police, come and try to stop him, but as soon as he finished uploading her consciousness, the lunar engines that were pushing the moon away from Earth malfunction. And not only do they malfunction, they overheat to a point where they explode. And the impact from the explosion causes a lot of debris from the moon to be heading straight toward Earth. And as the governments of the world panic, not knowing what to do, we see Pak Yang burying his wife as she has died from cancer. And this catastrophic turn of events with the engines on the moon causes all military personnel to be deployed, including Pak Yang. The explosion of the engines on the moon not only caused the problem with the debris, but it also offset the moon's gravity and axis, and the moon, in about 179 hours, is going to completely disintegrate and destroy Earth. The Chinese representative Ziji still believes that mankind can prevail over this adversity. He gives an interesting and arousing speech at the UEG emergency meeting and convinces the governments of the world to keep trying and to use the last and only option that they have left. And this option is proposed by an anonymous person that messages high-level government officials. This anonymous person has sent various types of messages, and this time the message the anonymous person sent was a bunch of nuclear launch codes. This message is supposed to be a signal to the UEG to use the backup plan that was proposed by China that they rejected years ago. The plan was to use all nuclear warheads that the world had and blow up the moon if ever the lunar engines failed. And after Ziji's speech, the UEG agrees to this very same plan. As all the governments of the world voluntarily give their nuclear warheads, we witness all our main characters doing their individual parts to save planet Earth. Henyu is asked to go to Beijing with his partner and activate the root server of the Beijing internet. and he's requested to go on this mission because his daughter's consciousness is connected to the same AI that's gonna help them activate the internet. And this makes Henyu a valuable asset in the operation. But Henyu's not the only one playing an important role here, as Pak Yang gets deployed with his team to go to the moon and deliver the nuclear warheads. The plan is to first deliver all nuclear warheads at a specific place using the help of the AI. After delivering the warheads and placing them at the appropriate position, the astronauts would fly back to Earth and the UEG would detonate remotely. But that plan fails as debris kills some of the astronauts delivering the warheads, and the UEG fails to decode the nuclear passcodes in time. Pak Yang's ship was among those that got hit by debris, and he sends some of the survivors back to Earth on an emergency pod and stays behind to place the nuclear warheads in their position. As Pak Yang makes the ultimate sacrifice for the survival of the human race, Henyu was facing his own challenges back on Earth. The root internet control station in Beijing was located underwater, and Henyu and his partner are supposed to put it online so that the UEG can detonate the bombs remotely. But their mission becomes almost impossible as debris from the moon hits the station and it starts to get flooded with water. Being unable to get internet access from the Beijing location was not the only problem the UEG was facing. Their biggest problem is being unable to decode the password for the nuclear warheads. Cause even if Beijing manages to get online, if they don't have the launch codes, they can't detonate the bombs. And so, their only option now is sending astronauts to the moon and detonating the nuclear bombs manually. The UEG command asks its astronauts to make a very difficult decision. And one by one, 300 astronauts from different countries above the age of 50 volunteer for this one-way mission. As Pak Yang was on the moon, ready to sacrifice himself, he sees hundreds of ships flying toward him. One of the passengers was his chief and best friend who loves Pak Yang very much. And even though he was unable to talk to him during his last moments, he guides Pak Yang to an escaped spaceship and Pak Yang returns to Earth. As Pak Yang goes back to Earth, we see Henyu drowning to death and begging his daughter to memorize the launch codes. But as his body died, he kept a copy of his consciousness and he wakes up in the same computer his daughter is in. And just before he died, his daughter was able to memorize the codes and he restored the Beijing internet connection just in time. And here on the movie, we witness a very emotional scene as each and every member of the volunteers detonate the nuclear warheads and sacrifice themselves for humanity. The detonation happens and the moon explodes, and all of the Earth's engines fire at the same time and send the Earth toward a better future. Just before the movie closes though, we finally find out who's been sending those messages to government officials. And apparently, it's the AI computer Henyu's daughter is in. And the AI has decided the only way to save mankind is to end civilization. The AI claims it came to that conclusion after observing Henyu's daughter, and this is where our movie comes to an end. I really hope you guys enjoyed this recap. Make sure to leave a like and leave a comment, subscribe to my channel. I love you guys so much and I'll see you on my next recap. Bye.